Welcome, Pewter Report readers, viewers, and listeners to a brand new edition of the Pewter Report podcast, energized by Celsius, the official energy drink of PewterReport.com. It is a Pewter post-game show. It's now technically Monday because the Bucs played on Sunday Night Football, and they just lost in heartbreaking fashion. They fell to the Cowboys 26-24, a late fumble by Rachaad White as the Bucs were trying to rally and make a comeback. It did them in, and there were a lot of sloppy mistakes as well along the way. But the bottom line is the Bucs lose. They are now 8-7 on the season, and they no longer control their own destiny in the NFC South. So a lot to unpack with the game and the future of the Buccaneers this season. So let's get into it. I'm your host, Matt Matera. Joined with me is my fellow co-host of the Pewter Report podcast and the face that runs the place at PewterReport.com, SR, Scott Reynolds. And Scott, what are the vibes? What are the feelings after the Bucs looked like they were going to come back and win, and then as soon as you thought maybe that they had it, gets ripped out from them?
Yeah, we talked about it last week. When the team played as well as it did in Los Angeles, they could beat anybody. But would that team continue to show up? The defense certainly didn't. The middle of the field got exposed again. The Bucs inside linebackers, including Levante David, sorry, folks, not good in coverage anymore. Father Time's catching up to him, and he wasn't the only one. J.J. Russell dropped the gimme interception, hit in between the 5 and the 1. Merry Christmas. Catch that, and you have the best Christmas present you'll ever have. First career interception, dropped. Safety play was terrible. Missed tackles in the middle of the field.
All over.
Doom this team. And I mean, Matt, how do I put this? Cooper freaking Rush. This guy beat the Buccaneers.
Yeah.
Cooper freaking Rush. How many times have we seen a backup quarterback beat a Todd Bowles defense? And Cooper Rush just about beat him into submission. Yeah, they played better in the second half. I'll give Todd Bowles credit for that. But you know what? The halftime score, 23-14, 23 first half points. The most points the Buccaneers have allowed since the bye week was 23 in Carolina. And
yeah,
20,
I mean, at one
points.
point early in the game, Cooper Rush was 9 of 10, and it's another example of the Bucs making a below average quarterback look like
phenomenal.
A Hall of Famer.
Yeah,
I mean, it was so weird at the end of the game. Like, sure, the Cowboys need to run the ball to kill the clock and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But if they just kept throwing it and going underneath, they probably could have closed out the game that way. The Bucs just over and over again had no answers. They didn't get to Cooper Rush that much. I know Yaya Diaby had a half a sack, but he also had that egregious miss of Cooper Rush coming from the blind side as well. And, Cooper Rush is not
that allowed him to kick a field goal,
Lamar
Matt.
Jackson.
That allowed him to kick a field goal. Yeah.
It did. And so the defense had a ton of issues in the first half, no doubt about it. Jamel Dean and Zion McCollum both kind of got roughed up by C.D. Lamb a little bit. You hit the nail on the head with the safeties. And, maybe it's not fair to the offense because the offense has really carried this team throughout the whole season.
Yeah.
But they had a number of sloppy mistakes as
No
well.
doubt.
I mean, you start with,
doubt.
And I know they recovered it, but Payne Durham fumbling that ball,
Yeah.
Which would have made it 2nd and 2 or 2nd and 1, ended up making it 2nd and 7.
Yeah.
That led to a holding penalty by Luke Gedeke, which eventually led to the Bucs not being able to score touchdowns. Sterling Shepard with the drop on 4th down when he was wide open. He later exited the game with a hamstring injury.
He had 2 big drops.
I don't hate the deep ball to Jalen McMillan. That was a great play by the Cowboys defender, but you also want to see McMillan kind of maybe fight for it a little bit more. And then, Baker gets hurt, fumbles it. Baker tries to be the hero, loses the ball 30 yards down the field, and the Bucs were lucky that wasn't able to totally jump on it and stay in bounds, but it made a 3rd and 40, so that killed that drive. And then Rachaad White fumbling at the end. Maybe it's not fair that the Bucs offense has to do a little bit of everything. But we saw once again, I mean, this isn't the first time that the Bucs have turned the ball over. Several times. They did 3 in the second quarter against the Raiders.
Yeah.
Baker had some turnovers against the Chargers. They got lucky, and tonight, they weren't as – that wasn't the case with turning the ball over. They fumbled it way too many times, and it came back to bite them in the end.
Yeah.
And even that play, it was Baker trying to play hero ball, and I love that he got the ball out. But what are you doing, Rachaad White, holding onto the football with one hand in a crucial moment? It's a true shame that the Bucs didn't get the opportunity to set themselves up on that last drive. Because remember, they only needed a field goal to win.
That's right.
Not tie, but to win. And the way that the Bucs were moving the football, I have no doubts that they would have gotten into field goal range. Yeah, the Cowboys had some better pressure later on. But that was just the last example of the Bucs playing sloppy throughout. And, they'll go down on the season 0-4 in prime time. Hopefully they get another shot at redemption to play in prime time. But yeah, this is on them. The Cowboys didn't do anything spectacular that you can tip your cap to besides, hey, we have CD Lamb. He's a top 5 receiver. Let's get him the football. Yeah. Outside of that,
I would just like for the Buccaneers secondary to make a damn play on the ball. How about an interception? How about a frigging interception? How about a forced fumble? A fumble recovery? Can anybody in this defense make a play? It's ridiculous.
Only Tyke Smith. It seems like only Tyke Smith is the only one. And he had that big tackle at the end. When everybody was missing tackles left and right, Tyke Smith was the one guy to shed the blocker, make the tackle, and start that last drive to force the Cowboys.
Frigging ridiculous.
They don't have playmakers.
It's frigging ridiculous. Cannot defend.
They don't have playmakers.
Field, can't tackle, can't rush the passer, can't take the ball away. We wanted to believe, but you know what? The Giants suck. The Panthers, they were lucky to win that game. They're probably going to lose to all of a sudden a Panthers team that's figuring stuff out and putting points on the board. They beat the Raiders, but second worst team in the league. So they beat the worst team in the league in the Giants. They beat the second worst team in the league in the Raiders. And they played the Chargers and they shut them out in the second half. And I think that had more to do with the offensive onslaught than it did so much with the defense actually playing that well. Because remember, they gave up 17 points in the first half.
Yeah, the Bucs have to play perfect on offense to win a lot of these games. And even as good as they were in that second half against the Chargers, I'm talking about the Bucs defensively, I still had my doubts that they can do it week in and week out and be successful. And, if they can't get it done against the Cowboys, who's to say that they can get it done against anyone? So, the Bucs still have a chance of getting into the playoffs because the Commanders are a good team and they play the Falcons next week. But can you take out the offense? Because I think offensively, the Bucs have a Super Bowl team offensively, but they clearly do not on the defensive side of the ball.
No,
so can you trust the Bucs, even if they were, by the grace of gods, to make the playoffs? Can you trust the Bucs defensively against any team that they're going to face, whether they're at home or on the road? I don't necessarily think so. I mean, Jordan Love can carve them up. Sam Darnold should have no issues. If CD Lamb had his way, what is Justin Jefferson going to do against this team? And maybe I'm speaking too far ahead because the Bucs have to win the division and they don't control their own destiny anymore.
No, they don't control their own destiny. And
a lot of difficult things to process.
It's a lot of difficult things to process. So the Buccaneers are now 0-6 when they don't score first. They're 0-4 in primetime this year. I mean, these are some haunting statistics here. And we thought maybe this is the week where they were going to win a primetime game. And this is against a Dallas Cowboys team that was eliminated from the playoffs prior to kickoff. Okay. Had nothing to play for except for pride. And they came out and they wanted it more. And they wanted it more every single quarter until the very last play with that fumble. It wasn't a fumble, it was a strip. It was a strip. And I'd love to see any other Buccaneer player outside of Tyke Smith and one play by Anthony Nelson this year in Carolina actually create takeaways. Yeah. I mean, I'm serious. We'll see what happens If this team wins the division, I don't think Todd Bowles is going to get fired unless they lose in the first round of a home playoff game. I think, but if they don't make the playoffs,
too. I think like if they get blown out, something
correct.
like that, you could see Todd Bowles let go. But yeah, it's a very specific type of
if they don't make the playoffs, if they don't win the division, I think Todd Bowles gets fired because the problems are on the defensive side of the ball, and they were masked by playing the Giants and the Panthers and the Raiders, and again, even the Chargers did not have a dynamic offense. I mean, like their offense was average, right? I mean, shutting that offense down, I mean, great, they did it, but like to give up 26 points to Cooper Rush, I'll tell you what, it would have been worse if CeeDee Lamb had not missed a pretty decent chunk of the second half, right? CeeDee Lamb, if he played the whole game, and been a part of it, I mean, who knows what the score is? The Bucs probably don't have a chance to come back and win this.
And what's sad too is what were the Cowboys doing well before this game to be successful in their little, winning 3 out of 4? It was being balanced and being able to run the football. The Bucs did what they wanted to do in terms of making the Cowboys one-dimensional. I mean, the Cowboys had 31 rushing yards in the whole game. Rico Dowdle was 13 for 23, 13 attempts, 23 rushing yards.
Yep.
They shut down the Cowboys' run game, and it didn't matter. They were one-dimensional, and Cooper Rush, almost threw for 300 yards. He threw for 292 in the game, and CeeDee Lamb was fantastic. Usually when you make a team one-dimensional, you are able to shut them down, but that wasn't the case for the Buccaneers. And also what happened is since the Bucs had to play catch-up the rest of the time, they still ran the ball effectively, but they were at their best when they were just pounding the rock with Bucky Irving. But the way the game was going, they couldn't run the ball as much because they were running out of time. And I think that impacted the game a lot too, because it would have taken more time off the clock. Like Bucky, in my opinion, was doing really well. He had 16 attempts for 68 yards. It was an average of 4.3, but it just seemed like every time he had the ball, the Bucs were moving it, and they had to get away from that aspect of their game plan. So just a lot of things that the Bucs could control, and they just weren't able to, get it going in the right direction.
Yeah, and I mean, listen, it's a team game, right? I mean, I wasn't in favor of the 8 passes and 2 runs to start the game either, especially with the Cowboys having the 29th ranked rushing defense. I mean, to me, you flip that, and maybe you actually score first or score the first touchdown, let's say, and you're not trailing at halftime, and you're not trailing the entire game, and that's exactly what happened. So, I don't think it was the best game from Liam Cohen and the offense by any stretch. I think Baker was, kind of got spooked again. And the offensive line, it's a little bit of a mirage because the offensive line didn't play maybe as poorly as you thought. Baker was under duress a lot of the time because he couldn't see downfield, and he was running into some sacks and all that. And for the love of God, man, Thad Lewis, or whoever's the quarterback's coach next year, has got to teach this guy to throw the ball away. Throw the ball away. Live to fight another down, and it's like as much as we love the hero plays from him, when he gets playing hero ball too much, bad things happen, right? I mean, he had a fumble, almost had another fumble in the game, and it's just throw the ball away. Don't take the sacks. That's the thing is it's the lost yardage. It's getting behind the sticks. It's turning, what could have been 3rd and 10 into 3rd and 19 because you took a bad sack. Throw the ball away, and so it's like his competitive nature, his ability to scramble and be a Houdini. When it's good, it's great. When it's bad, it's awful, right? And he's got to learn when to say the play is over and we're on to 3rd and 10 instead of having 3rd and 19 in situations like that. So I don't know. Let's hear from some of our angry Buccaneer fans here. And you have every right to be angry because this
we got
team
some super chats.
Should not have
last thing I'll
lost.
say too is some of the times too, like Baker sees that the pocket is collapsing, or he sees the defender coming and just goes, I'll shake this one out, or I'll break this tackle and we'll be okay.
Yeah.
And then you see, how it went down. But thanks everyone for the super chats. We're going to get to all of them. We'll start it off with the Real Maverick. with a $10 super chat. Thank you very much. Who says, Bowls teams always seem to not play to their level in important games. They always play down. Why did they call a timeout on offense before halftime when there were still 54 seconds on the clock? That cost 3 points. Yeah, I was thinking about that when the game ended because they lost by 2.
Yeah.
And the Bucs called a timeout. They were about that first and goal. They ran it on third down with Rashad White. He just got it. And they called the timeout. And I don't know if it was because, you kind of have the pile of a running play and it takes a little bit longer for everybody to get back up. But you were very close to the end zone. And the Bucs ended up scoring on the next play, which gave the Cowboys the ball back with enough time and 3 timeouts. Part of me says, you probably shouldn't have called a timeout right then and there. The other part of me goes, there's less than a minute. Just make a freaking stop on defense and not let them get into field goal range. So it was a blunder by Todd Bowles, but I think still the bigger mistake is just how bad the Bucs defense played in that moment.
Yeah, it just reminded me of Kansas City did the same thing, called the timeout too prematurely, right? And it kind of came back to bite him as well. So I don't know, just not a good game all the way around for the Buccaneers. But defense, clock management. These aren't new. These aren't new issues for this team. They've kind of been hidden for a little bit. They kind of got, swept under the rug a little bit, but they came back against Cooper Rush and against a team that was eliminated from the playoffs today. I don't know. I'm at the point where I've just seen enough bad quarterbacks beat the Buccaneers defense,
Yeah, and I think what's annoying too is, even people on the game day stream were like, fire Bowles, who's going to be the next coach? Can they keep Liam Cohen? And I get all that stuff. And people who are making the case for Todd Bowles, and I'm not sitting here being like Todd Bowles should get fired. I'm also not saying he should be back. But the things that people point to of Todd Bowles, why he should return is, the players love playing for him and he's able to get them out of these losing streaks and stay the course. But at the same time, do you want to go through this every single season of gargantuan peaks and valleys of lose 4, win 4, lose 4, win 4? I don't know. I'd rather have consistency where, okay, maybe you don't win 5 in a row, but you win 3, lose 1. Win 2, lose 1. And if you're going to do those EKG charts of wins and losses in a row, I don't know how sustainable that is year in and year out. And, Bowles hasn't been a winning coach going back to his time with the Jets. And now with the Bucs, he's only had 2 winning seasons. He'll likely get another winning season this year if they can win one of their next 2. But even then, we're talking about 8-9, 9-8. If they go 9-8 again, there's really not that much improvement. And they had another chance to clinch the division earlier, or at least clinch a playoff spot, and they blew an opportunity. So let's keep it moving. Samuel Fisher, thank you for the $5 super chat, says, have the talent to be a top team, but Bowles keeps us mediocre. Do the Glazers see this? Can Cohen be the head coach next year? Please, I'm crashing out. Yeah, I love the passion of Bucs fans for sure. And many people are unhappy right now. This is a game that they should have won. They should win the next. They should have won the last 3 coming down the stretch, and they blew a huge opportunity.
Todd Bowles has the shovel in his hands. He's the one digging this team out of the hole. But he also was the one who dug the hole, right?
Right.
He hasn't let go of the shovel. He's digging him out of the hole, but he also dug him in the hole too. He's got, both hands on the shovel on both sides of this, right? That you wouldn't have to dig yourself out of the hole if you didn't dig yourself in the hole. And how many of those games did the Buccaneers lose by giving up 30 points or more, right? So they gave up 26, but holy smokes, man, we're talking about Cooper Rush here. I don't know. I'm not going to call for Todd Bowles to get fired, but if it happens, then it's kind of deserved.
No one's going to be shocked.
Yeah, no one's going to be shocked.
Let's get to Bucs Basement. Thank you very much for this $10 super chat, who says, all I want for Christmas is a new head coach. I'm tired of mediocrity. I'm tired of this team never being prepared for the moment. I'm tired of poor time management and poor coaching. 15 more days, please end. Yeah, time management's tough. They go for it on 4th down early in the game, which I liked, even though they didn't get it. That's completely on Sterling Shepard.
Yeah.
But then in later times, when maybe you think about going for it, they don't. Just a lot of indecisiveness with Todd Bowles, and I think that's why there's much frustration with him.
Yeah, I agree.
Dubs, thanks for the $4.99 super chat, says, I just hope they fire Todd because the defense is horrible. Why is White finishing games? Play your best running back. Defense doesn't look like they try.
Well, the reason why Rashad White's in there is because he's the best pass protector, right? And you're going to be throwing the ball, especially in a true 2-minute situation where you're out of timeouts, right? And you got to get into field goal range. He's a very good receiving back. That's why he's in there. It's remember Bucky Irving also fumbled in Atlanta too, and I'm not trying to necessarily forgive that Rashad White fumble. That was a hell of a defensive play, man. It wasn't like he just dropped the ball. He literally had it stripped about 6 inches away from his knee hitting, right? I mean, it was close, but it was a clear strip. And again, a great defensive play. We saw a similar play to that by Anthony Nelson on Chuba Hubbard in overtime, but we just don't see plays from this defense. They give up plays, but they don't make plays, right? They just don't. It's very frustrating.
It's too sporadic, right?
Yes.
Like the Jamel Dean interception last week against the Chargers was great.
Great.
But that was a fluke. It was like, holy crap, he actually caught that?
Well, I mean, that's his only interception in 2 friggin' years, Matt. 2 years.
Yeah, I know.
It's nuts. Get rid of these defensive coaches, man. Seriously. I am done with the lack of player development, the lack of takeaways. It's not good enough. It's not good enough. If you're a defensive-minded head coach, you should demand and expect better. If you're a defensive-minded head coach, your side of the ball should be wearing the Superman cape. And that it hasn't been this way much of the season. It's mostly been on the offense. And when the offense is struggling a little bit, you need to come up with some takeaways. By God, the Dallas Cowboys did.
If you have a defensive coach and your defense isn't playing well, that's a tough recipe for success.
Exactly.
Kyle Miller, thanks for the $4.99 super chat, says, let the Falcons have the division. They're getting bounced in the first, get a better draft position, draft well, and do something about this defense. Yeah, again, I'll say they have a Super Bowl caliber offense, but not even remotely close to a Super Bowl caliber defense.
Yeah, not even close.
One thing that is a great recipe for success is starting your day, or really starting anytime, with a Celsius energy drink, which of course is the official energy drink of PewterReport.com. We love Celsius for a number of reasons, starting with all of their fantastic flavors. I love the Arctic Vibe. You can check out all the flavors that they have, like the sparkling watermelon lemonade that you see on the screen there, over on the Celsius website. You can go to the Celsius store locator if you need to know where to find a Celsius energy drink. You can go pick one up after you punch in your address. Could be at your local Walmart, Publix, Target, Stop and Shop, or your bodega.
Bodega.
And after you keep going to your bodega and you love Celsius and you want more, you can buy it in bulk over on Amazon with the subscribe and save and have it sent to your place of residence whenever you want. Set it up at your leisure. Just make sure you're drinking Celsius energy drinks, the official energy drink of PewterReport.com.
Leadus Production says, I'm going to drink a Celsius right now because I love my misery and I want to be awake for 3 more hours to be miserable some more. Oh, that's good.
I respect the honesty.
No doubt. Yeah. That's a great comment. Appreciate that. That's good stuff.
Let's see where I left off. We did Kyle. Yep. That one. So next up is Nicola Legistina. Thank you for the $1.99 super chat, who says special teams penalties / sloppiness is embarrassing. Yeah. That was another thing I was thinking of. The punt coverage was out of control today. Like Christian Izzian just like blindsiding people. Trey Palmer had a good last return, but before that, just doing these weird, stupid things where he caught it at the 3-yard line. It's like, dude, just let it bounce into the end zone, or at least give it a chance to bounce into the end zone. Then he's catching and he's running laterally. He's going backwards. He's doing a lot of weird stuff.
Not a fan.
And yeah, not good in coverage. I know
Not a fan.
Turpin is a top level returner, but the Bucs couldn't down the ball there. It was a nice effort by Evan Deckers, but he, his foot was on the line, therefore it was a touchback. Just didn't like what I saw from the special teams today, at least from a punt coverage standpoint.
Did we get the super chat done? Did I just forget it? My blind rage about how poorly this defense played tonight. I'm not sure that we did.
Yeah, we pretty much did.
Okay.
Sure. I guess if you don't win the division, you get the second place schedule, which means I think you avoid the Eagles, which is kind of nice. But at this point, the Bucs, they're not getting a top 10 pick or anything like that. So you're better off fighting for the playoffs. But
there's no doubt.
Anyway, thanks to Kyle Miller for that super chat. Thank you to Caleb Bartlett as well for this $1.99 super chat. As he says, Bucs life. Where was Bucky at the end?
Yeah, he's got to get better in pass protection. All right, he's a little back, but Warwick Dunn was one of the best pass protecting backs and same size, 5'8". I think Bucky's 5'9", but Warwick was like 5'8". Buck 87 maybe, but he just would chop you down. And Bucky Irving and Sean Tucker, they have to get better at pass protection right now. I can't blame Liam Cohen for putting Rachaad White out there to do two things: catch the ball, because he's really good at it, and pass protect, because they're going to be blitzing. They're going to be blitzing Baker Mayfield. And every time where the Buccaneers are trying to play catch up, right? They're trying to force an interception, force an incompletion, force a short pass underneath rather than something down the field. So you got to have sometimes that back to stay in there and protect. And Rachaad is the best one, whether you like it or not. That's why. And until Sean Tucker gets better at pass protection, because he got blown up with that sack fumble in the Raiders game, and Bucky Irving gave up a sack last week in LA, the only sack of the game. But until those two running backs get better at pass protection, it's going to be Rachaad. So whether you like it or not, Bucs fans, I'm with you. Bucky is the best playmaker on this team. Yeah. But in that situation, you got to understand what Liam Cohen's thinking. And I can't blame him, because a sack fumble. And listen, Baker will sack himself sometimes. We see that.
He does.
You got to give him a chance a little bit. And Rachaad is just really good at pass protection.
Yeah, and the fumble at the end was just a mistake. It's not like he fumbles the ball a lot, at least throughout his career so far.
I think it was a good play by the defense. We have to give them credit. Who stripped it? Was it Deron Bland? He stripped it, right?
It was defensive back for sure.
Yeah.
It looks like Deron Bland.
Yeah. Great play by him. Great play. Right. Great play. So sometimes the other team wins. Sometimes the other guy beats your guy. And that's what happened.
Yeah, it's not going to lead to a benching. We're not going to see more Sean Tucker because of this.
Right.
It was just
exactly
unfortunate
great defensive play.
Timing.
Yes.
Bucs Basement, thank you for this $5 super chat. Says, the most damning thing about Bowles and his awful coaching this season, the Bucs this season have not won a game where the opponent scores first. That's right, Scott. You mentioned that a little bit earlier on the show.
Yeah, they're 0-6 now. That's bad. If you don't have the lead, you're going to lose. It's that simple, and it shouldn't be that way in the NFL. You should be able to overcome that. And the Buccaneers have overcome deficits at halftime, right? They were trailing last week against the Chargers at halftime. They're trailing in New Orleans at halftime, and they came back and won. But if they don't score first, for whatever reason, they're unable to come back and win. And that's unfortunate, because you don't always get to score first sometimes.
Yeah.
And let's keep in mind, the Bucs offense had the ball second. So Todd Bowles' defense went down there, and allowed a field goal right off the bat. So they're down, right? And the offense comes out and sputters. And then Todd Bowles' defense allows a touchdown. Now you're down 10-0, right? So, got to be better than that. Got to be better than that.
And it hurts as well, because it feels like a lot of the Bucs wins this year. Yes, they were trailing at halftime to the Saints and the Chargers, like you mentioned. Yeah. But also in those games, by the time you got to the start of the fourth quarter, it was close to a blowout. So a lot of these close games, the Bucs haven't been able to get the job done either. You look at Kansas City. Really, the closest game that the Bucs had where they won was in overtime against the Panthers. And again, that was kind of scrambling at the end to get to overtime in the first place. But that losing stretch to the Falcons, to Kansas City, those were all close games that did not go the Bucs' way. It seems like right now they can only pretty much win by having a huge, gigantic lead, and it plays into how they go about operating both on offense and defense, and that's not another good sign for these last 2 games of the year.
Yeah. So basically, and Greg Allman, the Almanac, came out with this tweet, and I'm just going to read it because he's right. This is the simplest way to explain the Bucs playoff situation, even after tonight's loss. If Tampa Bay beats the Panthers and the Saints, they got to do that. They got to finish with 10 wins. Either one of the 2 things puts them in the playoffs. The Falcons lose to the Commanders in Week 17, or the Commanders lose to the Cowboys in Week 18. So if the Bucs win out next 2 games at home against Carolina and against New Orleans, and by the way, New Orleans is 5-1 in Tampa in their last 6 games against the Buccaneers at Raymond James Stadium. Frightening thought. But if the Falcons lose to the Commanders next week and the Bucs win both of theirs, Tampa Bay is in the playoffs as the division champion. If the Commanders lose to the Cowboys in Week 18, the Buccaneers will be in as a wild card team over the Commanders because of the head-to-head win back in Week 1. So there's 2 scenarios the Bucs can make the playoffs: as the 7th seed as the wild card, or as the NFC South champion should the Falcons lose. So that's the scenario. But it all starts with winning. And by the way, Tampa Bay is 3-4 at home, Matt. They're actually better on the road.
They're not that good at home.
So yeah, we'll see what happens. Never boring with this bunch, I'll tell you that.
No, it's not. Thanks to Hezo813 for this $5 super chat, who says Falcons versus Commanders and Panthers. Falcons could very well lose both of those games. I'm not sold they are better because they blew out the Giants. Yeah, I was watching some of that game today. Michael Penix Jr. certainly wasn't bad, but you do have to factor in the quality of opponent with the New York Giants. This will be a true test for them against the Commanders. What type of quarterback play do they get from Michael Penix Jr. when really the season is on the line for each team? Obviously, with the Commanders trying to control their own destiny, and they had a big win against the Eagles today as well. So a lot of drama these last 2 games of the season. Mike Wells, thank you for the $5 super chat, says, got to give Liam a promotion the minute the season is over, and Light really needs to look at improving the defense in the offseason. Yeah,
and it's the players and the coaches. You need an upgrade in both of those areas, in my opinion. There is some talent on this team. It just needs to get developed, and they need more talent too. I mean, let's not just sit there and say this is a Super Bowl caliber defense and the coaching is the reason why they're not playing well. No, the players are out there on the field. They need to be coached better, put in better positions to succeed, but they also need to be developed with better technique, better tackling, things like that. I mean, and of course they need upgrades in certain situations. I am in favor of replacing all of the inside linebackers except for Servassier Dennis next year, because coverage is a huge problem. And I love Levante David. There comes a point in time, and I saw it with Derek Brooks and Warren Sapp and Rondé Barber and Mike Allstott and all your favorite living legends, where it's about time. And I love Levante the blitzer. I love Levante the tackler in the run game, in coverage. It's not there anymore. And he used to be one of the best coverage linebackers, like by far, like really good. But it's not there anymore.
Yeah, I wish, and the Bucs don't have this luxury because they don't have the depth or the personnel, but you wish that, because I do think, like you said, Levante blitzing has been really good this year. He's still been able to force some fumbles. If there was a perfect world where you could play Levante on like 1st and 2nd down and then get him off the field on 3rd down, I think there could still be a role for Levante next season, but the Bucs are not in that position where they can just kind of platoon Levante, because they were already doing that with Servassier Dennis.
That's right.
And KJ Britt before Servassier got hurt. So yeah, I mean, JJ Russell, I like his overall hustle, but yeah, you have to have that interception.
Yeah.
Phi Jones with the forced fumble last week. Like at this point, why not?
I don't know that he played.
Why not trot him
on
out?
defense
Because
tonight.
nothing
I
else
know.
seems to really be working. And yeah, this offseason for the Bucs, like the offensive side, certainly it's what do you do with Chris Godwin? And how do you replace him if you
He'll be
don't
back.
get him back?
He's
But
coming
after
back.
that, it's all defense.
It
It's
is.
all how do we get better pass rush? How do we get playmakers in the secondary? It's all defense after
Yeah.
that.
There's no doubt about it, Matt. You're exactly right.
Let's go to Garrett Lehman. Thank you for the $1.99 and then the $9.99 super chat, who says Todd Bowles calling a timeout with a minute left in the red zone before half is wildly incompetent.
Yeah, same thing happened in Kansas City. I mean, yeah, there was no need. You're inside the red zone, right? And yeah, it's going to take 10, 12 seconds to huddle up and get the play, and the clock's going to be ticking, but it's a little bit of a panic there. If it's like 30 seconds left, okay, I get it. But I mean, what is it? 54 seconds left?
54 is when they scored the touchdown.
So. 54 when they scored the touchdown. So there was a minute left then. Yeah, well, especially
I
with
think
their
he
field
got
goal
worried
kicker.
about, again, the pile of like a run play. I think he got worried about that and said like, all right, let's let everyone regain their breath. But
yeah,
wasn't the right move.
But then again, Matt, to your point that you made earlier, it's like, okay, well, if you're going to do that, by God, your defense better stop them and not allow a field goal. And that's exactly what happened. They didn't stop them. They allowed the kicker to kick a field goal.
And it wasn't even that. It was like the Cowboys immediately got to midfield after one play.
Yes.
Like they were instantaneously in field goal range. And they even had the sack. But because Aubrey has a huge leg, the sack didn't matter. They were still able to get the field goal.
Yeah, and listen, we have to give the defense a little credit, right? It wasn't like the Cowboys dropped 50 on the Bucs defense. It wasn't like an absolute onslaught. But at the same time, the Buccaneer defense gave up 6 scoring drives. 6. Mm-hmm. And they benefited from some missed field goals throughout the year, Matt, right? I mean, we've seen a lot of missed field goals against the Buccaneers. Not tonight, not with Aubrey. That dude was money. 58-yard field goal, 49-yard field goal, 58-yard field goal. 53-yard field goal, right? I mean, absolute money. So 6 scoring drives by the Cowboys, by Cooper Rush. He led 6 scoring drives.
And they only did allow 3 points in the second half. But the Cowboys, and like you mentioned, CeeDee Lamb was injured for a good majority of that second half. But then the Cowboys tried to establish the run, and it was like, what are you doing? Like, your running game could just be the short 4 to 5 yard pass because it worked over and over. And odds are the Bucs would end up, missing a tackle like they did throughout the game.
Yeah, for sure.
Anyway, thank you to Brian Tampa, who just became a Pewter Report YouTube channel member. Thank you so much for your support. I wish it was under better circumstances with the Bucs winning. But nonetheless, thank you very much.
Matt,
thanks to White Lightning and TJ Fuller, each for these $1.99 super chats. We really appreciate it.
We do appreciate this. We appreciate your generosity and your support. We're having a show tomorrow, folks. It's not a Victory Monday, unfortunately, but we will have a podcast after Todd Bowles' press conference. Will the defense doom the Bucs? That's what Matt and I are going to dive into tomorrow. We're going to have some comments from Bowles, and we'll see where things stand. See if Antoine Winfield Jr. can get back on the field at some point in time. They need him. They need the old Antoine Winfield Jr., the playmaker, because nobody's making plays right now on this defense in terms of takeaways on a nearly consistent basis. Then program change. We're not going to have a podcast on Christmas. Please forgive us. We're taking the day off to celebrate with our families. So we're going to do our Bucs versus Panthers preview on Tuesday. So we will have podcast this week on Monday, just tomorrow, Tuesday, which is our Bucs versus Panthers preview, and then a Thursday podcast. So no podcast on Wednesday, which is Christmas. Please enjoy the Christmas holiday with your families. We'll be doing the same. And if you missed the show on Tuesday, you can always listen to it on Christmas because it'll be the most recent podcast we'll do until Thursday. So, but a big game coming up is as must-win gets after the Buccaneers lose their lead in the NFC South division to the Atlanta Falcons today. But they have a chance to get it back, and they have a chance even to still get into the playoffs as a wild card. But they need some help on both fronts, man.
They too, and it'll be round 2 against Dave Canales when adjustments will be made. So we'll get into that during this week as well. Moving on, thank you to Trustin Vorbeck for this $4.99 super chat, who says, "What's wrong with this team? If you had to pick one, A, bowls, B, defense, C, play calling." And then Trustin says, "My parlay did not hit." Sorry to hear that, but you've hit a lot of parlays on the show. And happy belated birthday, because your birthday was on Thursday. But nonetheless, thank you for the super chat. Scott, you want to answer this one first?
It's B for me. It's looking at the totality of the season as well as tonight. The defense, again, 26 points surrendering to Cooper Kupp. It's not winning football. That's not what playoff teams do, right? If you want to make the playoffs, act like it. And this is not what a playoff team does. Giving up 26 points to a Dallas Cowboys team that was eliminated today from the playoffs with a backup quarterback and CeeDee Lamb playing pretty much just one half of football. So that's it. It's B. And then, A and C are also in the mix too, because it's not just the defense, it's a team sport. But I'm leading with that one. If I had to pick just one, the defense.
Yeah, I'm torn between Bowles and defense, because Bowles is the one calling the defense. And I understand the idea of, well, the Bucs just don't have the personnel, and there hasn't been, the right fitting in that area. But Bowles is the one that it has been late to make adjustments. He's the one that has made the timeout snafus and the timeout issues and refusing to call timeouts in the first half. And let's remember, what were all of us saying after Baker Mayfield threw that touchdown pass to Ryan Miller? Go for 2. Win now. You're going up against, at the time, the undefeated Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah.
What they do? We're going to play for overtime.
Right.
And you never got the ball back. So Bowles and they all go hand in hand.
That's right.
I guess I'll go with Bowles on this one, although all three are very close.
Yeah, that's true. Yep.
Richard Taker, thank you for the $1.99 super chat. It says,
Richard.
"Happy holidays, everyone, and Pewter Report and all Bucs fans." Or happy holidays,
Richard.
everyone at Pewter Report and all Bucs fans.
Yep.
Thank you very much, Richard. Happy holidays to you as well. Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy holidays to all of our Bucs family, or whatever you celebrate. But thank you very much for the kind words. Bucs Basement, $5 super chat, thank you. Says, "Bowles is not good enough for the Bucs to let Liam Cohen leave. If that's the choice it comes down to, an offensive coordinator like Cohen is rare, and you can't lose it."
Yeah, I mean, if you have to pick one, I mean, we're just being objective and telling the truth when we say the offense has been better than the defense this year. And this guy's a first-year play caller. Was the play calling great tonight? No, it was not. He's a first-year play caller. He's going to get better. I like the body of work so far. This is not the ceiling for Liam Cohen, right? I mean, he's still figuring things out. And I would love to see him with Chris Godwin. I would love to see him with another better receiver that, if there is an injury, can fill in at number 3, because it wasn't Sterling Shepard tonight, and it wasn't Trey Palmer tonight. Ryan Miller had a great touchdown catch. He was wide open, and I think that was kind of the Cowboys' problem, because they were double teaming Mike Evans and didn't have anybody covering Ryan Miller. But Liam Cohen is really, really good. This offense is really, really good. And I think if you give this offensive line another year to gel and grow, and Bucky's going to get better. We saw huge strides this year from Cade Otton, from Cody Mauch, from Luke Gedeke, right? Better coaching is producing better results on the offensive side. So you get another wide receiver to go with Mike and Chris and Jalen, and then another receiver, right? Like a better guy than Sterling Shepard or Trey Palmer or Raheem Jarrett or Ryan Miller, like a legit guy that they thought maybe Trey Palmer was, but he's not. Then you might have
it's scary to think like how good this offense has been, and yet there's still like some upgrades that can be used for this team going into next season. And the biggest thing that I keep going back to, and it doesn't even have much to do with Todd Bowles. It's just Cohen is 39. If you think that he can continue to be a great play caller, and you make him your head coach, you can have him presumably for the next 20 years if things go right. And, obviously that longevity is super difficult. You don't even see it with the best coaches around. But you can get him at a young age and keep him around in your franchise. You want to talk about stability? You can have him for quite a long time if he proves that he can be the guy once taking on a head coaching role versus just being an offensive coordinator.
You know what?
But it's right there in front of you.
Is he the next Sean McVay? Is he the next Kyle Shanahan? Or is he the next Mike McDaniel or the next Dirk Cutter, right? Where he's good offensive mind, but just doesn't know how to run a team per se. And, I don't know, but I don't have a lot of faith that Todd Bowles can get this team to the Super Bowl and win it.
Yeah.
I just don't, and especially when you're the defensive coordinator, essentially when you're the defensive play caller, it's your side of the ball, you're the defensive minded head coach. That side of the ball is letting this team down pretty much all year long.
Yeah, that's been the case. White Lightning, thank you for the $4.99 super chat, says, I went to this game tonight. Bucs felt flat. Cowboys defense makes all these crazy plays. Bucs defense makes zero. Well, glad you got to see the Bucs White Lightning. Sorry it wasn't the result that obviously we all wanted to see, but still cool to see your team live and in person. Yeah. And that's a big part of it. Cowboys, even though they're a bad team, they made plays. That was an exceptional interception on the deep ball to Jalen McMillan. That was a great play.
Jordan Lewis was fantastic.
Had one hit their inside linebacker right in the hands. They hit him right in the stomach after, and he couldn't hold on to the damn ball. That's right. That was not everything, but that was a big part of the game right there.
It was, This Bucs defense has just not made enough plays. Just hasn't.
David Weber, thank you for the $1.99 super chat.
Thank you, David. Appreciate it.
And TJ Fuller, thanks for the $4.99. Says, yes, Bowles isn't perfect. Defense has to make plays. To be honest, not an easy decision to make. But can we let a top 5 offensive coordinator go? Man, that's a tough call.
Yeah. It's a tough call, but it's also an easy call. And I literally have tons of respect for Todd Bowles. I was excited to see him get the opportunity. I like defense. I love defense. I'm a defensive-minded guy. I would love nothing more than to see Todd Bowles really have success and really build a Super Bowl caliber defense on this team. And it just hadn't been close. And it's a shame. They've had some moments. Like every once in a while, Bowles will give you one of those defensive mastermind game plans. The Lions game this year, the Philadelphia game this year, the Philly game last year in the playoffs, but just nothing lately. And I just think the defensive coaches, Kevin Ross, George Edwards, have just let this team down. Their players are not performing. And ultimately, as a coach, it's your responsibility. You're not out there missing the tackles. You're not out there dropping interceptions. I get all that stuff. I mean, I defend coaches as much as I attack them. At the end of the day, if you're a position coach or you're a coordinator or you're the head coach, the players, what they do and don't do is your responsibility on the field. When they don't do it, it ultimately falls on you. And they need some new, younger, better coaches on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, their defensive coaches, they know how to coach it in terms of, well, Todd likes this, so we're going to run it this way.
Exactly.
Versus trying to find new ideas. And on top of that, look at what the new coaching has done for the Bucs on the offensive side of the ball. The offensive line alone is a perfect example of what new coaching, a different set of eyes can do for a specific unit.
They're younger, better, innovative, energetic, like everything that you want. Justin Peel, tight ends coach. Kate Otten's gotten way better. Offensive line coaches, Brian Picucci and Kevin Carberry. Offensive line's gotten way better. Have to give old man Skip Pete some credit. He's done a great job with Bucky Irving and all that. So he's the exception. He's like 61, I want to say. Maybe he's late 50s.
Something like that.
But yeah, it's Brian McClendon. I think he's very good receivers coach. They're blocking their butts off and trying to develop these guys.
The most out of their guys.
Like Ryan Miller. 2 touchdowns this year.
Thank you to Eric Marino for this $5 super chat who says, tough loss, go Bucs. I tried the Cherry Cola Celsius. So good. Shout out to Matt and Scott. Have a good Christmas. God bless. Thank
Eric.
you very much, Eric,
Appreciate
and
that.
Merry Christmas to you as well. Hope you have a great Christmas. It's coming up in 2 days now.
It
It's
is. Yep.
technically December 23rd. So
Yep.
Thank you very much. We'll go to Mike Wells. Thanks for the $5 super chat. Says, really love the show so far, guys. What's your best guess on how this defense can be fixed in the offseason?
Better talent in the middle of the field. You need better linebackers. Hopefully, Servassier Dennis, he whetted our appetite a little bit with his ability to cover and blitz and tackle. I know the shoulder injury was disappointing. They had shoulder surgery to correct an issue that had popped up in college. So hopefully that's permanently done now. But you need to overhaul that position. It's just it's the heart of the defense, and coverage and run defense and everything. And then you need a pass rusher. You need a proven pass rusher that can, that can show Yaya Diaby how to do it, because he's not getting good coaching right now. And Joe Tryon-Shoyinka, bye, see ya. He does nothing. He's not that guy. So you need more outside linebackers. Chris Braswell is not developed at all this year. Not ready to give up on him, but I want to see him with a new coach for sure.
He just hardly plays too.
I
he's
know.
not going to develop. He's not playing.
Well, when you have Todd Bowles and George Edwards, who actually think Joe Tryon-Shoyinka is really good, that's the thing. They don't think that Joe Tryon-Shoyinka is good. They think he's really good. They think he's a chess piece good. Okay.
Right.
He's not. The dude doesn't make plays. He hasn't made plays. He hasn't gotten better. Really. He hasn't developed it. He's taken like little incremental steps here or there. Maybe he's better in coverage. Okay, great. I haven't seen him pick off any passes. I haven't seen him break up any passes. It's coaching too. Like it's putting these guys, the best ones on the field to make the play.
Mm-hmm.
And we know that Joe Tryon-Shoyinka is not very good. Okay. Put Chris Braswell out there, let him get experience so he can get better, so we can find out if he's good or not.
I see no lies with what you've just said.
I know.
And they did turn to Anthony Nelson a lot more than JTS, especially last week, and looked like this game as well. We'll see the snap counts in a little bit when they come out. But to answer this, I was going to say completely revamping an inside linebacker and finding an edge rusher. Because I don't even know who their top guy is right now. Based on snaps, it's Yaya, but what does Yaya bring in this season? And he's another one. I'm not giving up on Yaya, but he just I don't know, hasn't worked this year. Derek Benvey, thanks for the $5 super chat, says, getting tired of people saying how good run stoppers we are. Who cares if you give up 300 yards a game through the air? I think this is an excellent point. The Bucs stopped the run tonight. It didn't mean jack squat.
That's
so
right.
I think, Derek, this is a fantastic point.
Yeah.
Bucs Basement, thank you for the $2 super chat, says, we've never been 3 games over 500 under Todd Bowles. I think that speaks volumes. That says a lot.
It does. It does. It's it's Jeff Fisher-esque, right? Jeff Fisher's always 7-9, It's mediocre results, right? And thank God the Bucs are playing the NFC South, people. Otherwise they wouldn't win the division, right? 8 wins, true. 9 wins. Those are your last 2 division championships. With that, if the Buccaneers win it this year, they'll win it with 10. We'll see.
Maybe.
Yeah.
David Weber, thanks for the $1.99 super chat, says, our record against former kickers and punters, is this a curse? Well, they did go up against Brian Anger.
Yeah.
I
don't know what that record is, but I'm sure.
Well, they played against Bradley Pinion twice, and they lost each time.
Right.
Of course, Matt Gay kicked the game-winning field goal for the Rams in that 2001 divisional round playoff game.
Yeah,
I don't know the whole record, but I guess that's something to pay attention to the next time they go up against a former special teamer.
I'll tell you what, people need to pay attention to their insurance needs for sure. And I'll tell you why, because a lot of people in the state of Florida think that if they have homeowners insurance to protect against hurricanes, that's enough. That's not the case. You might need flood insurance too, depending on which zone that you live in. And if you don't have flood insurance, and you have any flood damage, your hurricane coverage is not going to protect you. And these are the kind of things that Briar Greaves Insurance will fill you in on. And if you're a longtime podcast listener, you might remember the late, great Mark Cook talking about Briar Greaves Insurance. I've been a Briar Greaves customer for years, and there simply isn't a better insurance company in the Tampa Bay area. Visit briargreavesinsurance.com to see for yourself. Briar Greaves Insurance is family owned, and their main goal is helping people find the right insurance policy for you and your family, whether it's home or auto, boating insurance, or business insurance. Turn to Briar Greaves and find out why their personal touch and customer service sets them apart. The days of waiting on hold to speak with an insurance representative that you don't even know are over. With Briar Greaves Insurance, you'll have a relationship with your agent who can answer your questions and advise you on the best policies. As 2 recent hurricanes have shown all of us that live in the Tampa Bay area, there is a cost of living in paradise. Briar Greaves can help make sure that you have the right hurricane and flood insurance, if you need it, to make sure that you and your home are protected. So visit briargreavesinsurance.com today. That's Briar, B-R-I-E-R, Greaves, G-R-I-E-V-E-S, or call their office today at 813-876-4166. That's 813-876-4166, and tell them the Pewter Report sent you.
That's right. Make sure you check them out. Bucs Basement, thank you for the $2. Oh, sorry, we got this one. Yep, never been 3 games over 500.
Yep.
Let's see. Okay, we're on JJ Stevens. Thank you very much, JJ, for this $10 super chat. As JJ says, White's fault we lost. He has fumbleitis and never going to change. If he has it now, he will always carry the ball like a bread of loaf and fumble. Goodbye, White. Go fumble for another team. Sorry, I'm mad. So I actually just looked this up because I saw the super chat.
Yeah.
Including tonight, this will be Rachaad White's 3rd fumble of the season and his 9th in his career. So in 2022 and 2023, he's had 3 fumbles each season, and he now has 3 fumbles this season as well, with the one that just happened in tonight's game.
Yeah.
I wouldn't call that fumbleitis just yet. However, he did fumble against the Chargers last week and then tonight. So that's 2 games in a row
that's true.
with the fumble. I don't think it's a huge issue, but not going in the right direction.
No, it's ball security, man. You got to have it. So it's unfortunate. I'm gonna exactly. I'm gonna put this one though more on Deron Bland making a great play than I am Rachaad White necessarily being careless. I know he held the ball out there when he first caught it and was kind of like breaking away, but then he did tuck it. Just great play by Deron Bland.
Matthew Herzog, thank you for the $1.99 super chat. We appreciate it.
Yep.
And thanks to Christopher Oxetine for this $5. As Christopher says, do we have a defensive player on the roster, injured or not, that can make the plays the Cowboys did on defense? Well, Antoine Winfield Jr., when he's at his best, certainly can.
Yeah.
But he hasn't really done that this season.
No, he has not.
Last time he came back from injury, he had a scoop and score and a defensive touchdown. So hopefully he can recreate that if he's able to return by the end of the season.
Yeah, he's just not had that year. I mean, he had such an eruption last year. You'd like to almost kind of spread out some of those takeaways last year and put him in this year to feel better about it. But he's been hurt. And he's not been that guy this year. He just hasn't been the playmaker. And Tyke Smith is that guy. But he can't do it all by himself, and he can't be the guy that's doing it every single week, right? I mean, Jamel Dean, 1 interception in 2 years. Is that right, Matt? 1 interception in 2 years? Didn't have one last year. Zion McCollum has 2 interceptions. He bragged about getting 6 this year. He had 2 in 1 game against the Lions. He does not have an interception since then, right? Since week 2?
Let's double check the box real quick.
Yeah, it's getting a little late.
But he had one either against the Eagles or the Falcons.
All right, while you're looking that up, I'm gonna say Trustin Vorbeck, thank you again for a $9.99 super chat.
Yeah.
Can I ask, what'd you come up with, Matt? Does he have any others?
So he has 2, but he had 1 against Detroit. His other was against the Saints. In there.
Oh, that's right. Okay, yes, because he should have had 2 against the Lions. He dropped 1. That's right.
Yeah,
and then had 1 against the Saints. Okay, so 2, but none since week 6. And I think I think his coverage has not been as good down the second half of the season here. Trustin Vorbeck with the $9.90 in the super chat can ask you a serious question. I know this is me being emotional, but promote Cohen to head coach and bring in Mike Vrabel, as defensive coordinator. Am I being silly, or does this sound logical? It kind of just depends on Mike Vrabel if he gets a head coaching job, because there's probably going to be, Adam Schefter said, between 5 to 7 openings this year, and there's already 3 right now, right? The Jets, the Saints, and the Bears. So there's 3, probably 2 more, and maybe as many as 3 more. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. I would like that. I like Vrabel a lot. I think I think he brings some juice. I think he brings some toughness. I think he could help Liam Cohen as a first-year head coach in your scenario here. If Cohen is the head coach, navigate some of these things, be that sounding board. Hey, I've been here, done that, been in the playoffs, done that. Plus, he was also a player on a Super Bowl winning team. I think that is another layer to all of this that might help Liam Cohen. So I'd be in favor of that scenario. If it happened, I would give it a thumbs up.
Yeah, I would sign up for it in a second, but like you said, it's all about what Vrabel wants to do. I know he's working in the Browns organization right now as some type of director or whatever.
Consultant.
So I don't know. It's tough when you're a head coach to then be a coordinator again and take orders from other people. And so if Vrabel thinks that the only way he can get back to being a head coach is to do well again as a coordinator, I think this would be perfect for the Bucs. But it all depends on him. But it's not a bad idea.
You look at Brian Flores, right? He did that going from Miami to the Minnesota Vikings, where he's now calling great defenses, and he's kind of working his way back up the ladder there. Raheem Morris did the same thing, right? It became a defensive coordinator, and then now he's a head coach again. So we'll see.
Greg DeCruz, thank you for the $5 super chat. Says, how do the Bucs get an elite pass rusher drafting middle of the pack?
Well, I mean, they don't always come in the first round, right? Jared Allen was one of the best pass rushers. He was a day 3 guy, right? So
Jack Barrett went undrafted.
That's right. Yeah. So you just got to find the right guy in the right round, and then you got to coach him and develop him, because these guys don't enter the league unless they're like a Micah Parsons type, or a player of that caliber who was a first-round pick, a high first-round pick. They're not ready to start and become a Pro Bowler out of the gate. Sometimes it takes a little while to develop. Yeah, and you have the coaches that can have that developmental mentality and the right coaching to get them to live up to their potential. So we'll see. We'll see where the Bucs end up picking. And if there's a defensive end or outside linebacker that's worthy of that selection at that spot. If not, find one in the second or third round. And like Matt said, you can hit on an undrafted free agent like Shaq Barrett. It took him a while to develop. He wasn't that great until he came to the Buccaneers several years into his career. So we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, look at this year, different position, but Bucky Irving was taken in the 4th round, and he's been sensational. So
exactly.
You never know who's gonna pop up and be great. Thanks to Aiden for the $4.99 super chat. Could this defense thrive if he reverted back to defensive coordinator and Cohen at head coach? I have thought about that scenario. I don't think Todd Bowles would sign up to do it. That'd be a tough hit to the ego. It's just not going to happen. It probably defense could be a little bit better if he only focused on the defense, but that's not going to happen realistically.
Yeah.
So, and our last, we have another super chat as well, but this super chat from FBC of $20. Thank you very much. Says, is it not weird that Bowles' coaching tree is non-existent? After all these years, you haven't developed any coaches that have long-term success elsewhere. No one even poaches our defensive staff in the offseason.
Mike Caldwell was the only guy, and he went to Jacksonville to become a defensive coordinator. Didn't do well, got fired. So, that's I mean,
it's a little odd. I will say though,
something to that.
Yeah, but you look at Belichick, and it's like all these guys that came from the Belichick coaching tree, they don't have a good record as head coaches. So
they got jobs, but they didn't do anything with them. Yeah. I mean, Romeo Crennel maybe was the best one with the Texans for a little bit,
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
We also have a super chat of $5 from Daniel Baber. Thank you very much, Daniel. We appreciate it. You all have been great with the super chats tonight, so thank you so much. I mean, it's 1 a.m, and y'all are
you guys
still
are
rocking with
fantastic.
us. We have over 1,300 people watching
Yeah.
on X, just on X. So we know it was a rough one tonight, with this, especially how they lost in the last seconds. But we do appreciate each and every one of you for joining us this evening.
Yeah. A couple of comments I want to get to real quick before we leave. Brian S. Listen, we praise Jason Light. We got to tell the truth when it ain't so pretty. Jason can't hit on edge. A first-round pick for JTS, a second-rounder for Braswell, a third-rounder for Yaya, a fourth-rounder for Nelson, a sixth-rounder for Ramirez, undrafted free agent Watts. Just can't get his eye to see the projection of an edge rusher. That's true. I do want to see what better coaching does at the position. I think some of these guys, there's a chance that they still can develop. I'm still high on Yaya, but he needs work. He's not a finished product at all. He's got to learn how to finish. We saw that tonight. As you mentioned, Matt missed a point blank sack, right? That would have been huge because it might have taken the Cowboys out of field goal range. At the same time, the running back position was Jason's kryptonite. It was his blind spot for a long time, right? And then all of a sudden, it's like Rashad, Bucky, Sean Tucker, right? Like boom, 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 like three running backs that I think if you ask most teams, would you like to have Tampa Bay's running back stable? Yeah, I think most teams would take that for sure. And then I think this is maybe a great way to end the evening here. Buckin, a Pewter Report TV channel member, says Buccaneers, good enough to beat any team, bad enough to lose to any team. Sorry. Story of the season. Yeah. And that's I might even use that in my 2-point conversion, Buckin. I'll give you credit for it. So very well said. Folks, it is the season of giving. And before we let you go, we would love to have you join our group of Pewter Report TV channel members. It's growing. We even had a couple sign up today, and we greatly appreciate all the support. Make sure you show your support for Pewter Report by becoming a Pewter Report TV channel member. Lots of different options. Just go to the front page of Pewter Report TV, our YouTube channel, hit the join button, and it'll show you all these options. I'm not going to go over it because it's late right now, but from $3.99 to $24.99, from the Pewter People member to the Pewter Platinumer, we appreciate all of our Pewter Report TV channel members. It's a great way to show your support. And, if you're in the giving mood, this would be a great way to give something to the Pewter Report staff that works hard for you and provides you with the content that you enjoy. And it's a labor of love. We love doing it. We love the communication, love reading all of the super chats as well as the comments. We see them. We can't get to everybody, especially when there's this many people in the chat, Matt, at 1:13 a.m. But it's a testament to how much you guys have grown this community, and we greatly appreciate the support. We wouldn't do this without you. We do it for you because you're the best, most educated Bucs fans around. Your passion is never ending. It doesn't stop when football season's over. It carries over into free agency and the draft, and we love that about you. It's why we go to the Senior Bowl. It's why we go to the Combine. Nobody covers the offseason better than Pewter Report. We have boots on the ground in Mobile, in Indianapolis for that reason, to nail those Bucs best bets, to tell you who this team's going to sign in free agency, to tell you which coaches are coming and going. So even though this season may be winding down, and we'll see if it lasts a little bit longer into the playoffs, but regardless, Pewter Report is here for you year round, and you guys are here for us year round, and we greatly appreciate that.
Yeah, it's such a joy to do this show and do all the podcasts that we do and see so many thought-provoking comments and things of that nature from you guys. So, yeah, the content still comes, whether it's win, lose, or draw, and we do it all year long. So, including later today, because it is a Monday. We will have a Monday show coming up at 4 o'clock. And then, like we said, our schedule this week is shows Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday with Christmas on Wednesday. And Hanukkah, the first night of Hanukkah as well.
That's right.
So, a lot of great stuff coming up. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Will the defense doom the Bucs? We're going to go into that tomorrow, plus have coverage of Todd Bowles' press conference tomorrow. And then on Tuesday, just a reminder, Tuesday, Bucs versus Panthers preview at 4 o'clock on Christmas Eve. No Christmas show, and then we'll have another show on Thursday as we get closer to the return of the Buccaneers to Raymond James Stadium versus the Panthers, which won today, Matt, and looked awfully good doing it, beating the Cardinals in overtime.
Little redemption for Chuba Hubbard, right? Had the
Yeah.
fumble against Anthony Nelson and then scored the game-winning touchdown. So we'll talk all about that later on in the week. One last super chat to get to. David Weber, thank you for the $1.99 super chat, says, we need Mangy Mike. Why do I only get 50 characters? I don't know about that, but yeah,
Well,
would
he
have
said
liked to see
angry
Mike
Mike.
Angry Mike. Would have liked to see Mike targeted a little bit more. He did chip into that 251 remaining. So still a lot to play for him. Still a chance that he gets 1,000 receiving yards. So that's another storyline that we'll talk about later on this week. So that'll do it for us. For Scott Reynolds, I'm Matt Matera saying thanks everybody for watching, and we will see you soon for another edition of the Pewter Report podcast. Out.